You're now tuned in to the TRUENORTH.BET podcast brought to you by TRUENORTH.BET. TRUENORTH.BET, always a bet in the right direction. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I'm pleased to be here, pleased to be joined by myself as we pretty much embark on the NFL journey and especially what's happened in the NFL in general. You can find our podcast on Spotify. You can find our podcast on SoundCloud and wherever you find your listening platforms, wherever it is. You know exactly where we are. You know exactly Wagwan. You know exactly what we're about to do. This is the NFL podcast, the football podcast on TRUENORTH.BET, and let's get it. Right now, the rankings in the NFL, you see it usually the Kansas City Chiefs are right up there. Detroit Lions are going down. Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo Bills are going down. And the 49ers are going down because some of these teams took some L's this weekend, and I believe it's some time to panic for some teams. But I'm going to start in upper New York, okay? And many people don't really consider this team a New York team. They are a New York team, and that is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills end up losing to the New England Patriots in New England after coming back, after going up by a few points, right? Losing that game in New England, in that area with the new lighthouse, so on and so forth. And Josh Allen threw the ball away in this first possession. There are many possessions where it was practically missed. They're practically not executing properly. But my question is it time to panic in Buffalo? And my thing is using 29 to 25 to the Patriots is a big deal, right? That's the Patriots' second win of this season. It's something that they definitely scratch or put on their list as one of those must win games, the Buffalo Bills, because of course they're 4-3. They would have been 5-2. That would have had them, number one, probably even, and at least more number one in the AFC East. Now they're number 2 in the AFC East. Of course, the Dolphins are playing well. The Dolphins did lose to the Eagles, but going through the game, rushing the ball as well too. I think on defense, the Buffalo Bills, of course, losing Tre'Davious White, losing some key players on defense has affected them. And it's extremely unfortunate that Tre'Davious White is injured and not able to play right now. After coming back from a ACL and Achilles, you just hate to see these things happen to some guys. But I hope he comes back and he's healthy again, right? It's just devastating because I've been someone that actually has gone through the Achilles injury. For someone to go through it and see them go through it is just devastating, especially when they play on turf and so on and so forth. And we've spoken before about many players like Aaron Rodgers and this Achilles injury, J.K. Dobbins, and there's another, ACL, Achilles injury as well too. Like it's just devastating. But the Buffalo Bills, is it time to panic? I think it's time to look at Josh Allen and understand that he has 75 turnovers, close to 100 turnovers in his career already. He's the wild way he plays. He does turn over the ball quite a bit. He did have an interception at the first play from scrimmage, which is ridiculous. He's 27 for 41, 265 yards through the air, on the ground as well too. Mac Jones had 272, just outplayed him through 2 touchdowns, 25 for 30, way more efficient in general than Josh Allen. But it's against a defense that I think is coming into this game thinking that they would handle them. But for some reason, Mac Jones was dicing it. Mac Jones was dicing it and just clinically splitting up this defense, dicing up this defense, and doing what he needed to, right? Ramondre Stevenson on the ground had a good day. Of course, Ezekiel Elliott scored through the ground. They were able to do what they wanted with the Buffalo Bills defense, and that's what really scares me. The offense with Josh Allen is not going to scare me, but it's more so the defense. Are they able to hold up against the top level teams, especially with all the injuries they've had on a day-to-day and a game-to-game basis? I don't know if they're able to. And that's what really, really concerns me with this team. And that's what really, really concerns the entire nation of Buffalo Bills, because that's exactly what they pride themselves on, is great defense with a great quarterback that have special receivers, right? They were a complete team, even on special teams as well too. But if the defense is not holding up, what do you hold your hat on? You have a quarterback that can play really erratically and throw the ball away, but then you have a defense that is giving up points as well. So what do we really hold our hat on? That's what really scares me. Other than that, now going to one of the big games of the entire week, we did have the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Los Angeles Chargers, of course, that was a good game. So the Chiefs did whatever they wanted with the Chargers, of course, winning 31-17. And this is Justin Herbert going out there. It's almost as though he has to do whatever he can to win games, right? They're 2-4. They're third in AFC West. Not really in the playoff picture right now with their record. They have had a tough test here and there, but losing to the Vikings, right? Losing these games to teams that you should be beating is not great. It's not in your favor at all, right? If you were to see the Chargers schedule overall, losing to the Titans, losing to the Dolphins, of course, that's a big, good team. But losing to the Saints, for instance, like that's not a team you got to lose to. They did beat, the 49ers, right? Which is great in week 4, but essentially losing to the losing to the Saints, losing to the Titans. Those are 2 games, and losing to the Vikings as well too. Really tough game that you need to take. You need to take, right? It's just the bottom line. You have to take those games, and you have to understand, what's happening there, right? Of course, lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Cowboys, lost to the Titans, lost to the Dolphins, lost to the Saints. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. So all those games being 2-4 right now, it's inexcusable. Inexcusable. They're not playing well. And is it time to fire Staley? I think there's no better time to fire Staley than right now. I think this is his last year as a guy that's been really aggressive on 4th down. He's been conservative. So what is your identity as a head coach? What are you doing to make your young quarterback in Justin Herbert better? There's nothing really he's done that's really stood out. And that's exactly the reason why I believe it's kind of done for Coach Staley. Coach Staley, you've done your time. You've been on this team for a while. It's time to go. It's time to go. It's time to leave. They can hire many other guys out there. There's so many guys that can take on that role and be a great fit with him. Even Brian Flores. Brian Flores from the, of course, from the Vikings, Dr. Heat, another Dr. Heat, but even he would be a great coach for that team because they need discipline. They need discipline. They need some fire on defense and someone that can actually inspire a quarterback. And he inspired Tua Tagovailoa. You can see how great Tua Tagovailoa is playing now. Having Brian Flores as a coach who pretty much doubted him, now having Mike McDaniel in there being able to do that, I don't think Brian Flores would not want to have Justin Herbert. He actually initially wanted Justin Herbert to come to Miami. So I think Brian Flores would be a great coach for the Chargers. So that's my take for that. So yeah, it is time for Staley to go, but Brian Flores, he's got to go to to Los Angeles after the aforementioned, the former San Diego Chargers, now the Los Angeles Chargers. He's got to go there for sure. Caleb Williams, okay? Caleb Williams, his team loses to the Utah Utes 34-32 this past weekend, but he still says that he wants to have stake in the team. He wants to have equity at some point. He is going to be the number 1 draft pick. We're saying Drake May is kind of climbing up the boards as well too, but many teams do not want to lose out on Caleb Williams being the first guy off the board. The Cardinals, the Bears, teams that are really struggling and looking for that number 1 pick. Where would it be most realistic where he's going? I believe that Kyler Murray, if it goes to March and he's still on the Cardinals, they have to pay him a guaranteed amount of money. And that guaranteed amount of money could be upwards of $30 million. So unless they cut Kyler Murray, which I believe they will this year, and have him walk, teams like Bears, the Cardinals, you can even put teams like the Broncos out there who might be trading up, even though they beat the Green Bay Packers this past weekend. They're in need of a quarterback. Russell Wilson is not going to be there for a long haul, especially with him. If he stays for a few more months, they have to give him a guaranteed amount of money, but they're just going to let him walk. They're giving him a guaranteed amount of money, $39 million next year anyways. So they might just let him walk and pay him the money and cut him. So the teams are going to be cutting their quarterback. You can say the Broncos, the Bears will not be cutting Justin Fields, but they're another team in the hunt, and the Cardinals. I think the most realistic team would be the Cardinals, where Caleb Williams would be going. That's the most realistic place for him to be and start. I think they have a defense that has exceeded expectations as of now. They've exceeded it, and they deserve to have a quarterback right in there, start fresh. They had Kyler Murray, it didn't work out. Now revamp that team around Caleb and just rebuild it. So I believe Caleb Williams will be in a Cardinals jersey come next year, come next fall. Kyler Murray will be walking. They'll be cutting him for sure because there's no point of him coming back and redoing everything. They might as well just start it. And they've already gone to the playoffs a few times. This is Caleb Williams' team going forward, and they're going to be tanking, not tanking, but pretty much losing games to inherit Caleb Williams. Now going on to teams that are actually do not have any issues, like the Eagles with Jalen Hurts and the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Dude, are they due for another Super Bowl matchup? Seeing it as it is right now, and I know we go week to week, but those are the two dominant teams this past week, the Chiefs and the Eagles for sure. The 49ers are there, but you can see without Deebo Samuel, if they don't have one of those missing pieces, one of those pieces, it's very tough for a Brock Purdy to have everything together. He was off target against the Minnesota Vikings. It is a really tough defense to go against. Like the Vikings have a really underrated defense and great DBs as well, too, that we don't really talk about. But it's the 49ers, it's the Eagles and Chiefs. Those are the teams right now that everyone is circling to get back or pretty much to make it as far, really further into the playoffs, get into the Super Bowl. And I think if the Eagles and Chiefs were to match up, it would be devastating that the Chiefs were to beat the Eagles again. But I think it's Eagles' time to win. This is the Eagles' time. They've done everything. They have the tush push. Everyone's talking about the tush push, trying to take it out of contention, whatever it may be. But the Eagles are due to be in the Super Bowl. The Eagles have to beat the 49ers. The Eagles have to continue playing. And with the demeanor that Jalen Hurts has, so calm, cool, and collected, this is the year they're going to do it. I'm already putting my hat on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl this year. The Eagles will be the team. I think the Eagles are the most complete team on both sides of the ball. They have the weapons. Now just signing Julio Jones as well, too. But Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, you can go down the list of all the receivers they have that have done a great job getting open for Jalen Hurts. We have DeAndre Swift. You have all of these backs in that room, Gainwell, so on and so forth, that are able to move the ball and do such great things. The O-line is just complete. Lane Johnson's come out for a bit, but they have Jesse Kelsey. They have many guys on that line that have improved since last year as well, too. I think it's the Eagles' time to win the Super Bowl, and they'll be playing probably the Chiefs. I would love to put my Bengals in there and put other teams in there, but they're not on the same level as the Chiefs right now. They're not on the same level as those three teams at all. The Bills are not even in that conversation. The AFC is all over the place. You could even put the Ravens in there as a contender after the whooping they gave to the Detroit Lions. They may be another team that can contend. But to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, I think it's hard-pressed to say that anyone can do that right now. So I'm putting possibly even the Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers as the teams to make it in the end. We'll see how it all comes down because those teams are balling right now. But I believe the Eagles have the most stout team. And doing that to the at home against the Dolphins, who I think are one of the top teams in the league right now as well, too. Extremely impressive. Extremely impressive, especially after Jalen Hurts had that stint with Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama, going out and performing the way he did. It's the pros now. It's unprecedented. As he likes to say this all the time. It's unprecedented. He's really, really there. And getting back now to the Ravens are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. They are. That team, the best thing they could have done is get rid of Greg Roman. Best thing as offensive coordinator, because their team is clicking on all cylinders. Lamar actually has weapons now. He has Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, who's a problem. Odell Beckham Jr., Nelson Aguilar. You can go down the list and keep going. You can even say Devin Duvernay is another guy that they have as well, too. Those are 5 legitimate receivers. Then they have Mark Andrews. That's 6 guys. And they have Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. Jake Adam is not there. They have weapons and O-line that is stout. Defense is solid. Patrick Queen, you can go down the list of all the guys that are exceptional on that defense as well, too. Marlon Humphrey, you can go down the list. They just have a complete team, and Lamar's playing really well. This is the first game they had at home in over a month, coming back after the loss to the Colts, but doing everything they've done since that point. Lamar having one of his best games of all time back at home against the Detroit Lions this past weekend, and not even getting the ball too much to Rashad Bateman, but giving the ball to Nelson Aguilar, to Zay Flowers, who can't really be checked one-on-one. He's too quick to be checked one-on-one as a rookie out of Boston College. The Ravens are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and they're a problem. They finally have weapons. Defense has always been great. The one person I'm really worried about is John Harbaugh. Is John Harbaugh able to call, is he able to make decisions properly? That's the one thing we're really, really, really looking forward to and seeing if he can actually do. I don't know if he can actually do it, but I think these Ravens are primed and ready to win a Super Bowl, get to the AFC Championship, get out of their division as well too. Teams in the NFC aren't really used to seeing Lamar Jackson too much. That's why you see the Detroit Lions struggling with Lamar Jackson. Hey, I said it before, Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles, 49ers, top 4 teams, the 4 teams that will pretty much be at the end. And I think if everyone stays healthy, those are the teams right now, I would say, going for, simply being in week 7, now going to week 8. Those are the teams after we know which teams are what. We know who are the pretenders. We know the contenders are right now. That is it. That is it. Coach Staley is gone. Time to panic in Buffalo for sure. Right? What is going on? Right? What are we going to do? How are we going to contend with the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Ravens if you can't get past the Patriots? And of course, the Ravens are Super Bowl contenders. Absolutely. So it's still Patrick Mahomes' league, but guys like Jalen Hurts, those guys are coming up. Once again, played well enough to win a Super Bowl last year. Just the defense had to stay up front, and they didn't with that turf. This is the year for the Eagles. This is the year for the Ravens to get back. But I believe everyone, the Eagles deserve to be the winners because of what they've done and how they look. But there's so many great teams, so many great players. But we will see Wagwan and see exactly how everything shakes out in the end, because this is the NFL and anything can happen. Anything is possible. I'm your host, Brandon Graham. This is the TRUENORTH.BET football podcast that can be found on Spotify, SoundCloud, and all of your listening platforms. I'm excited to be here, excited to be back. Let's get it. You already know what it is. Of course, make sure you stay safe. Bet all your parlays on TRUENORTH.BET. Make sure you reach out to me if I'm wrong on any of my predictions, but I don't think I'm ever wrong. This is the TRUENORTH.BET NFL football podcast. We'll be with the guests very soon. I'm your host, Brandon Graham, and I always want to make sure that, regardless of what you do, you always keep balling.